Welcome to Are You Quizzing Me? I'm Vineet Nair with my co host Aditya Kashyap. This is a quizzing trivia podcast show. Join us as we dive deep into history, science, sport, pop culture, and so much more. Let's get quizzing.
Hey, welcome to another episode of our podcast. Are you quizzing me? Today, my co host Vineet Nair is unfortunately not with us, and he is very busy doing the great work of healthcare in our country, so I can't even fault him. Podcasting cannot take precedence over saving lives. So good for you, Vineet. But in our unending quest to entertain people with absolutely useless but very interesting trivia, I am joined by our previous collaborator, Hari Krishna. Hey, HK.
Hi, Adi. Glad to be back, though did not expect to be back in this manner, I guess. Again, shout out to Vinith for saving lives. And I guess it's very clear that I clearly don't have that important a job, so I can be called in at any moment. So, yeah, thanks for having me again.
In the hierarchy of jobs, I feel like Vineet probably is higher, but only by a smidge. You're also doing good public policy work, which is useful for the country. I, on the other hand, am in the entertainment industry, which arguably is a negative externality on society and could be done away with.
Speaking of negative externalities, I believe you have something more to say on that front, Adi. Yeah.
I have. Oh, is it the answer to my previous week's question? HK, I
Yep.
was really hoping this week nobody will ask me. My God, you are filling Vinny's shoes more than adequately. Okay, I did ask what is something that old uncles also like to do apart from playing carom, and that was a question from last week. So go check out that episode if you haven't heard it. But the question was, what do old uncles like to do in housing societies in India? And this is not going to be funny. This is not even a joke. This is just a personal grievance because a lot of the older gentlemen are very nice, but some of them are just such a pain in the posterior of my life because it is so annoying. And that is, I think, it feels like a hobby. It is just like a random hobby whenever I'm walking in and out of the building, just being asking me like, hey, what are you up to? Where are you going at this time of the day? And the time of the day can be 2 p.m. It can very easily be 2 p.m. in the afternoon, and I'll be asked, what are you doing and where are you doing, in this very accusatory tone. So in case I have any of my building people listening to this, hey, I love you. I'm not talking about you. It's the other uncle. All right. So let's, having set aside that personal grievance and not funny joke at all, let's move on to something a lot more entertaining. So I'm going to start us off today. HK, are you ready for some trivia?
I don't think so, but let's go. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, no, I'm sure you got this. This particular event happened in Cali, in Colombia. There was an instructor in a fitness center over there in the 1990s. This particular day, he came into class and realized that he had forgotten his usual workout music that he brings for his class. So, as an instructor, he plays the usual workout mix or whatever. In the 90s, I imagine it was a mixtape. So, he had forgotten to bring it in that day. In this moment of need, he decided to improvise. And what he did was he started using the cassette tapes that he personally listened to. This was of Latin music that he liked listening to. So, what was this the origin of in the 90s?
Hmm. Something probably fitness related. I mean, I know calisthenics was the first thing that came to mind, but it does not relate. I think it's more related to using, certain bars and like freestyle, and it's more related to gymnastics. The only other one I
Hmm.
can think of is it something to do with Zumba?
Zumba. Oh, right on the money. It is Zumba. This is how Zumba originated. So the idea was that Zumba, for those who our listeners who might not be very familiar, is a fitness program. It's a fitness regime that involves cardio and Latin inspired dance. There's a lot of Latin songs inspired dance in it. So salsa and merengue specifically is what Beto Perez, who was the instructor, he played that music, and he realized that the people attending his class loved it so much that he decided to integrate the dance aspect itself into the fitness regime, and that's how Zumba came into being. And it's, by the way, a lot of people might not know this. Zumba is actually a trademark that is owned by Zumba Fitness LLC.
I was about to ask because I don't know whether you know, Cult Fit has this class called Dance Fitness, and I'm fairly certain it's Zumba, but I think they can't call it Zumba, I presume, because they haven't paid it, because it's literally called Dance Fitness. I mean, I don't know, probably something else. Yeah.
I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm hoping that the statute of limitations has expired on this, because many years ago in Singapore, I have conducted, and I didn't even know that this was a case. I've conducted something called Bollywood Zumba, and so just me teaching a bunch of ladies who were interested in being fit, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to teach some Bollywood Zumba, and I had no authorization from Zumba Fitness LLC, so I might have been doing some trademark infringement in that moment. But hey, if you're listening to this, Zumba Fitness LLC, I'm sorry, it's been many years. Please forgive me. Don't sue me.
No, Adi, you should ask them for sponsorship now. Yeah, you're plugging them now. You know.
I am, yeah. Please, anybody who is interested in fitness, go check out Zumba Fitness LLC. It's only Zumba if it is by Zumba Fitness. Otherwise, it is fake. All right. Okay, HK, your question.
Before I start this question, I'm just going to give a big shout out to this podcast that I've been listening to recently. It's called Lateral by Tom Scott. He's an amazing YouTuber, and I came by his podcast by way of his YouTube channel. So again, if you love this podcast, it's a very high chance that you're going to love that podcast. I mean, again, I haven't asked for his permission, but I mean, in the spirit of fair game, that that knowledge shouldn't be gated, and everyone deserves to hear everything. I'm going to take a few questions, few of my favorite questions from his podcast, and kind of hope to bedazzle Aditya with them. So moving across the Panama Canal, did you know that Air Force One has taken off more times than it has landed? Why do you think that's the case?
Oh, that's a brilliant question because it is immediately so intriguing. The Air Force One has taken off more times than it has landed.
Landed, yep.
Oh boy. Okay, so I'm gonna ask for, like I usually do, ask for a few hints. Does landing and taking off mean, like, is there some technicality of like it landed on water or something?
That would still be considered a landing. Okay, it is a technicality, but it's not the technicality that you're thinking of, which is that it's not to do with landing. Yeah, even if it crashes, it's technically a landing. So but and Air Force One, as
Oh,
far as we know, hasn't crashed. So yeah.
yeah, Air Force One has not crashed either. Wow. Okay, it has taken off more the times it has landed. That is such a brilliantly phrased question. I have no idea. Okay, let me try. I like this idea. Maybe the Air Force One loses its designation as Air Force One if the president is, I don't know, if there's no president on it.
Follow that train of thought. Okay, that's a very good train of thought. So I mean, that's the way to like find the loophole, right? So it's clearly an edge case that this is not something that happens normally.
Ah,
Okay, another hint is it's only happened once so far. The mismatch is only once. It's not like something that happens all the time. So what might have happened that it, like you said, it loses its designation?
interesting. So okay, now my go-to seems to be, there are a lot of times when presidents, when they undergo medical procedures, they assign their powers to the vice president in the US at least,
Yeah.
and that person acts as the acting president. But that has happened more than once, so that can't be it.
I mean, and also, where does that happen? That medical emergency happens on the ground, right? So, but what else has happened in American history, in recent American history?
I was going to say the other thing I can think of is JFK being shot, and
Also on the ground.
yeah, he was shot on the ground, but LBJ was sworn in on another plane.
But even then, it would mean the other way around, right? It wouldn't be.
Yeah, it was landed more times than it has taken off. Oh, yes.
So, okay, you're close, right? This happened a few years after JFK died. Like, I think almost a decade after JFK died. So, what happened after that?
Oh,
Yeah.
decade after JFK died. So 1970s.
Yeah.
Is it? It can't. Does it have anything to do with the Watergate scandal?
Yes. What happened after Watergate?
The president being impeached and
Was
resigning.
not impeached. The president was not impeached.
He resigned before he was impeached. Yes.
What happened after he resigned?
Oh wow! He. I had no idea. He flew off from White House.
That's it. So Richard Nixon flew off. Okay, and while he was on the flight on Air Force One as he took off, Gerald Ford was sworn in, and so the Air Force One is not a type of aircraft; it's a call sign, and the call sign is only when the president's flying. So he lost his presidential status mid-air, so the flight lost its status as Air Force One, so it became another typical the normal flight. So he landed in a normal flight, but he took off in Air Force One.
That's brilliant. Wait, so then does my logic not stand for LBJ's case? Because he was sworn in on a flight, and if he becomes president on a flight,
But I don't know. Was he sworn in on a flight? Is the question.
I'm pretty sure he was.
Okay, maybe the Air Force One designation started being attached only after LBJ. Then perhaps that's the other thing that could have
Okay,
happened.
okay. We will check this, but that is a brilliant little question. I love it. Oh, so cool. I love that. HK is bringing the game today. All right. I'm going to try it as well. This little memory for all of us millennials from our childhood was caught up in some sort of a controversy, if I may, for its insensitivity to people who suffer from the aftermath of wars. Okay. So let me be a bit more clear because I think that was very vague. There's a specific computer game from our childhoods, millennials I speak of, which was considered controversial in certain societies, especially those which have suffered war for a prolonged period of time and even after war, right? And hence, Microsoft brought in a change. Microsoft Games was, well, that's a giveaway. Microsoft Games was one of the games, was the producer of the games. They brought in a change to cater to that what was a culturally insensitive thing in the first place, so that they could be kinder to these people who have suffered in wars. What game am I talking about?
Wait, Microsoft games, the 2000s? Wait. I mean, again, I'm going to go on a random tangent, I think, but I know China censors a lot of video games. I know you've seen, like, China has a big thing against, I think, depictions of skulls and blood, and I've especially also from Dota too, that a lot of those icons and stuff are changed. But I mean,
Mm.
looking at the timeline, probably is not that sort of country in mind. But what game is PTSD related? Something that you do over and over again, that you respawn over and over again. But that's again seems like a lot of games have that problem.
No, no. So yeah, that's a good guess, but no, it's not where I'm going with. Think even more. So not even 2000s. It's older than 2000s, in fact.
Okay, okay, older than 2000.
In the 90s. It's the 90s. Yeah.
I mean, the games I can think of in the 90s is Dave 2D. Is that the game?
No, it's not. It's not. It's not.
Okay, wait. And you said it's because the game is insensitive to people who have PTSD from war, is it? Or potentially insensitive to.
And yeah, not even people fighting the wars, just general societies. And
Okay,
this would be very common in countries that have faced prolonged wars. The source that I'm referring to doesn't have specific examples, but I imagine countries like Vietnam and stuff, where there were prolonged
okay.
sieges and prolonged wars that happened in the recent history. So, which game am I talking about?
They changed something in the game.
They did a visual redesign in the game.
Okay, Microsoft games. Is it Age of Empires by any chance? What could they have changed?
Oh, that is, I love, I love that HK brought up Age of Empires because anybody who knows both of us knows that we have spent way too much time playing Age of Mythology and a little bit of Age of Empires. But unfortunately, this is not an AOM or AOE question.
Damn it. Okay.
It is probably a much more universally played game than either Age of Empires or Age of Mythology or Dave. Potentially,
Hmm.
way more people have played this game than either of those games.
Oh, oh, is it Minesweeper by any chance?
Oh, love that, HK. You got it completely right. It is Minesweeper. You are right. Yeah,
What did they change?
yeah. Okay, so Minesweeper was introduced back with Windows 3.1 in 1992. So it is
Okay.
one of the oldest games that Microsoft had on its platform. They were told over the years by many societies, communities, people, their users, that they felt that the mines were insensitive because people have lost, obviously, their loved ones, but even like lost limbs and stuff. And these are very
Yeah.
harrowing stories. And they felt it trivialized the problem of landmines by making it a game where you're supposed to find landmine. So what Microsoft did, and I believe this was with the introduction of Windows Vista. They redesigned the game when they came up with Windows Vista, the OS. And they gave a style change option when you're playing Minesweeper. You have the traditional mines, but you otherwise have flower garden. So you can click on those things and flowers open up, or you're supposed to avoid the flower, as it were. And they redesigned the game to have a flower garden, and that is a style thing that they did only in Vista. And the reason they did it was because they wanted to be more sensitive to these claims of triggering PTSD for people.
It's not there after Vista. So it's one of the few things that Vista got right.
It would be one of the few things that Vista got right, because it did get a lot of it wrong. I don't know if it is there since Vista, or was it
Okay.
just Vista. I believe it is there since then. I can always fact check that later, but it was definitely introduced in Windows Vista. So yeah, the very one of the few things they got it right. All right, your question.
So this is a brand slash logo question, I think, which is a favorite. I think this one almost every episode. And I presume it's a favorite of Adi and Vinith, so I'm going to pay homage to that. The logo of this restaurant chain was meant to be a dynamic one. That is, the logo would change as and when number of restaurants under the chain grew. However, this quickly proved impractical, and the logo was stopped at 3. What chain is this?
Oh, this is a question that I know because it has been on my list of questions to ask Monday. But I'm going to answer it. It's a great question. The answer is Dominoes. Dominoes was the brand which was supposed to. I believe the founder wanted to keep adding the dots, the pips on the Dominoes as the stores increased.
Yeah. Or rather, like roll the dominoes over, right? So I presume now they would need more than, I don't know how many ever dominoes, because you can only have 6 on one, right? So yeah.
That
Yeah.
that would be a very impractical logo. Yeah. It goes to show that sometimes you don't realize how successful you're going to be eventually. Good for him. All right, no, that's a short, sweet question. I like it. Since you asked beautiful, but it's a rather short question, let me ask something which will possibly be longer. Do you know what is biomimicry architecture? I think it is pretty self-explanatory.
Yep.
Okay. So just to clarify for anybody who might not be aware, biomimicry, it's a Greek, it comes from Greek, and obviously it means mimicking life. So life forms and anything related to things which are found in nature, and architecture, obviously things that humans have constructed. So whenever human beings make any sort of architectural design which is inspired by nature, it is called biomimicry architecture. Okay. Having said that, let us do some famous examples of it from the world. Let me ask you, HK, would you rather I tell you the origin and you tell me what is the example that exists in the human world, a human construction? Or would you rather tell me the origin and I can ask you?
Oh, I mean, we can do a bit of both. If you have many, then let's do both.
Okay, great. I have a few. I have a few. So let's try this. Okay. I'll give you an easy one. This should be easy. The Esplanade Theatre in Singapore.
Oh, it's a durian, right? It's
It's
supposed to
a
represent the
durian.
durian. It's called the durian.
It is also called the Durian, you're right. The Esplanade Theatre, both HK and I have spent a considerable amount of time in Singapore. It's a very famous theatre in Singapore. And the inspiration is durian, which is a very popular fruit in Southeast Asia and especially in Malaysia and Singapore. So the durian.
I think it's the national fruit of Singapore, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, you can fact check that, but I think it is.
I believe you're right. It is the national fruit of Singapore, yeah.
And yet banned on buses and metros.
For being a bit too smelly. Yeah, it is a polarizing fruit. And I know so many people who love it and so many people who hate it. But all right, it does inspire a very wonderful piece of architecture. The next one. Do you know this building called the Gherkin?
Oh, it's in London. Yes. Yeah.
Ah, yes, you do know it. Yeah. What is the Gherkin inspired by? What is Gherkin inspired by?
I mean, the obvious one is the gherkin, like it's a big cucumber, but well, is that
I would. It would be a bit too much of a giveaway to ask that if it was the Gherkin. So no, according to my source, it is not the Gherkin itself.
okay? I know it's called another thing, but no, that's is it the shadow? I think the gherkin's also called. I mean, I don't want to make this NSFW, but it's also called that because it's very similar to shape to that. But I don't think they're
Oh, okay, okay.
mimicking.
The male appendage.
Yes.
To be fair, most buildings look like a male appendage, so it's
True, that's true.
that would be too generic. No.
Okay, okay. Is it a plant?
Ah, yes, you're absolutely right. It is a design mimicking The Venus flower basket sponge. It's a flower structure.
Oh wow. Okay. Okay.
Let me do it the other way around. This has two potential source of inspirations. The first one is the woven lines round vessel. So it is a form of art and also the home of a species. I'm being a bit vague because if I get more specific, it'll be very easy. But it's either an old art form, which is the woven lines thing that I mentioned, or the home of a species. What am I talking about?
I mean, the one that immediately comes to mind is the bird's nest stadium because, like, you said home of a species, so nest.
So it is bird's nest, by name obviously from the bird's nest, but also an old Chinese art form, which was a little TIL moment for me. Yeah. This one might be slightly difficult, but let's try it, okay? So it's Eastgate Center, and it is in Zimbabwe. It was completed in 1996, and it has a natural cooling system. So, what is the main inspiration that they derived from the natural source was a cooling system. It is supposed to be able to have this very wonderful network of whatever the cooling system is installed and centralized in a way that was inspired by nature. What natural phenomenon or structure is it inspired by?
Interesting. Okay, when you say cooling and Zimbabwe, I mean, I think of Africa. I know, I mean, when it comes to water, I know the baobab tree is very famous. I mean, it's known for water retention and whatnot. So, is it somehow
Mm-hmm.
inspired by the baobab tree in terms of how it holds water?
Oh, that's a great guess, but no, it's not that. It's not that.
Okay. Is it an animal or is it like another, like, is it a plant formation thing or what is it? Yeah.
It's technically not a single animal or a single plant, if that makes sense.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Okay, 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 okay. I know that sometimes it is, I mean, I've seen it used in the other way around. I don't know that happens this way, but I know, like, for example, sometimes bees fight off hornets by basically, like, flying around the hornet and, like, raising the body temperature so that it literally cooks to death. So I wonder if there's a thing that happens in reverse, wherein a bunch of animals, like, swarm around or gather around and, like, cool off each other through this thing.
That's a great guess. That's a great guess, but no, it's not. It's not. It's not that. Let me give you more of a hint over here. It is supposed to be inspired by the house or the home of an animal, just like the bird's nest, something along those lines.
Oh, okay, okay. Then is it like a termite's nest because of the network of, like,
Love that. Yes, yes. It is a termite's
okay,
mound. It is inspired by a termite's mound. Yes. And it's supposed to it's a shopping mall, an office building that makes use of natural cooling. And the natural cooling is inspired by a termite's mound. The air enters the building at the lower floors and escapes through the chimneys. And this helps reduce energy consumption by around 10% when compared to a standard building, which is quite 10% is significant. Yeah.
that's amazing. Yeah, yeah.
One more. Okay, I have one last one, and this is much closer to home. Which one is inspired by a flower?
I mean, it's just the Lotus Temple. I mean, the Baha'i, for the Baha'i faith of worship, or yeah,
It is Lotus Temple, and this one was an easy one. I just wanted to do it because, hey, why not give a shout out to one of the very beautiful
yeah,
structures in India, in Delhi. Yeah, I really like the Lotus Temple.
yeah.
Okay, great. That was my longish question on biomimicry. On to you, HK.
No, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I'm going to go back to another brand question. This one also inspired by Lateral. Though, okay, this is very cryptic, but obviously we can get more and more hints. I mean, if you know it in first shot, amazing. I mean, still hats off to you. But okay, which company uses the 10-8-42 rule?
10-8-42.
Yeah.
Wow. So obviously, right off the bat, I have no idea what it is. I'm trying to think where
Okay.
can I find 10-8 and 42. No, okay, I love a hint. Yeah.
If it helps, other companies use 10-6-37 or 10-7-37 or 10-9-35 as their rules. You know,
These are such random numbers because I can't think of 35, 37, 42 being.
yeah,
Sorry, what is the second digit? Is usually 8, 9 or something you said, right?
10-8-42, 10-6-37, 10-7-37 or 10-9-35. So yeah,
8, 6, 7, 9. Wow. No, wow, I have no idea whatsoever. Can you tell me what industry or something, or would that help? I don't know.
Okay, I again, okay, industry might give it away very quickly, but okay, it's a Japanese company. I'll give you that much. And I mean, obviously, I'm fairly certain you've heard this company, and you're fairly certain you've heard. I mean, it's very likely almost everyone listening to the show has heard this company. Yeah, heard of this company. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know because you said Japanese, and my first instinct was to say manga.
Okay. No, 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 no. It's a consumer product company. Yeah, it's not like an entertainment company. Yeah. Mm.
Okay. A consumer product would, Japanese cars. Wow, I can't think of what I'm.
They used to previously use 10, 10, 30. If that's a hint. Then they moved to 10, 8, 42. Yeah, okay. See, like what can you sense about these numbers, right? There's something like, for example, the 10 isn't changing much, and then the second number is not changing much between, like, it's always 8, 9, 10. So what operates in those ranges? Like, what phenomenon that you know of, operates in those ranges? Yeah.
10, 8, 42. Okay, so when you said 42 and stuff, I was thinking if it can be alphabets, but then 35,
Okay.
37, it's not like, again,
Yeah.
Japanese
Yeah.
script doesn't have,
It's
if
a
I'm not wrong, any limited number of alphabets.
Well, no, the two of the three scripts have limited number.
And is it time? Is it got something to do with time?
Good one. What specifically about time? Yeah.
Uh, oh, you said it's a consumer product. It's something like directly sold to consumers, customers.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, the only thing that I can think of is 10:8 being the hands of the clock. Because I know in advertisements they usually keep it at those ends so that the name of the brand is centered.
That is precisely it. This is the rule used by, okay, but which company? Now, Japanese famous,
Oh,
watch brand.
is Casio the
It's not
Japanese?
Casio. This one is not Casio. I'm sure Casio has a similar rule, but this one is another famous one.
Okay. Oh boy, it's gonna show my ignorance of watch brands, but I don't know many Japanese ones. Oh, is that Japanese? Because wow, I don't know. Is it starts with an S? Seiko.
Seiko. It is Seiko. Yeah. Okay, to put the answer together, this is basically 10, 8, 42 is the time that is shown on all Psycho timepieces, and it's believed that they chose this because, one, like, if you look at 10, 8, it doesn't obscure the brand name, and 42 because it's a particular arrangement that, I mean, it's apparently represents dynamism and all those things, but in general, it's like a aesthetically pleasing arrangement of hands, and all of them would have it. And I think Apple pays homage to it as well. I think if you look at the clock app, it'll also be 10:8 by default on the iPhone, on that on displays
Right,
and stuff. I
right.
think, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah,
They do. You're right. Now that you say it, that I'm familiar. I am an Apple user, so yes. Wow.
yeah.
Wait, so you said what are the other numbers you mentioned? 10, 8, 42, 10, 7, 30.
10:6:37, 10:7:37, 10:9:35.
So all of them would roughly be in that V shape, right?
Yeah, 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 in that region. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, I didn't know it was that precise. 10, 8, 42. Love that. And you're saying it is across all Seiko ads and whatever display pieces and stuff.
Yeah, it's a company rule.
Cool. Okay. Let's do something more mythological, since you did do a previous shout out to Age of Mythology. This actually is a mythological story and it has a modern day application, right? So I'm going to tell you the story and you can tell me how it is represented in the modern day, right? This particular god, and I'm not giving you the names because that might make it too easy. This particular god from mythology was known to be secretive and mischievous, okay? So he would draw a veil of clouds around himself to hide his mischief, and his wife was one of the only few people who would be able to peer through the clouds and reveal his true nature. Okay, so this is the mythological anecdote story, whatever you might call it, and it has a modern day application or a modern day relevance. So let us start off by just guessing which mythological character I'm talking about, god I'm talking about.
Wow. Okay. Mischievous. and wife was able to pierce the veil and identify him. I mean, when you think of gods who are, I mean, mischievous is putting it one way, but the famous kind of husband wife dynamic is most common in like Zeus and Hera. But I don't think Zeus was
Mm-hmm.
mischievous in the sense of hiding himself in clouds and things like that. He was much more known for his other kind of exploits. So, I mean, I don't think it is Zeus and Hera, but correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah.
You are so close. You are so close. It is not Zeus and Hera, but it is very, very close, if I may.
Okay, Jupiter and what's Hera in Roman mythology?
You got that absolutely right. It is Jupiter. Do you know the name of Hera's Roman counterpart?
Hera's Roman counterpart doesn't. Thinking back to Percy Jackson, but I can't remember Hera's. Yeah.
Okay. So the counterpart to Hera in Roman mythology is Juno,
Oh, Juno. Yes, Juno. Okay, 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 okay,
Jupiter's main consort, main wife, whatever,
okay.
however specifically they describe it.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's talk about where would you see this in today's world, or how was this applied in the modern day?
Jupiter and Juno piercing the veil. I mean, all these things reminds me of like radar or detection and things like that, like piercing the clouds and things like that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Something to do with the radio as well. Or that's the other one that I can think of. But what precisely about radio? Is it something to do with bands? Is it something to do with the names of the bands or receivers and transmitters?
No, no, no. You are close. You're getting there. You're getting there. You're close. Yeah.
Okay,
Not got anything to do. Okay, let me also give you a time frame. It is 2010s.
internet related, something internet related. Then definitely, right? What about?
No, no, no. It is not internet related. No.
It's not internet related. Okay, piercing the veils, but not internet related. Okay. Yeah, I'm focusing on piercing the sky. Is that? I'm sure that's the part to focus on. I presume.
You are absolutely right. Piercing the sky, but where? I would say where
Okay,
is the
in a metaphorical sense.
no, no. In a very literal sense, but where?
Oh, is it a skyscraper?
No, no, no. You're going a bit cold. It's not a
Okay,
skyscraper.
okay. 2010s, you said, right? Okay.
Yeah, 2011 specifically. I'll tell you 2011 specifically.
Was there a spaceship or something that was named Juno or rocket? Yeah.
You're absolutely right. It is. It is a NASA space probe that was sent to Jupiter
Oh. Oh.
to
Oh.
peer into Jupiter's inner workings and to figure out
Oh.
Jupiter's gravitational field, magnetic field, polar magnetosphere. And the space probe is called Juno. So the idea was Juno
Yes.
was going to be able to peer into the clouds of Jupiter and figure out what Jupiter is up to. And that's how NASA named their space probe. Yeah.
Great question. Great question. Yeah.
All right. Your turn.
Do you know what animals are on the Australian coat of arms?
I believe I have seen a version somewhere. I know there's a kangaroo for sure.
Yep. Yep.
The rest I'll have to guess. So I'm going to say, is there a.
There's only one more. Okay, that's not the main question. Right? That's one of those
Okay.
typical quiz questions. You know it or not?
Okay.
It's an
Okay.
emu and a kangaroo. The interesting question is, why do you think they were chosen? Why do you think these two animals were chosen to be on the Australian coat of arms?
Wow. Interesting. I know Australia does have some sort of a contentious history with the emus. They've waged a war on the emus.
And they lost, but that happened after this. Yeah.
That's a absolutely insane part of history that I love, the Great Emu War that Australia
Yeah.
waged. Okay, are emus? I mean, the obvious answer seem to be emus and kangaroos seem to be very resilient animals and sturdy and hardy and tough to kill.
It is a characteristic. It is not resilient, sturdy,
Hmm.
tough to kill. I mean, there are probably plenty of animals that do that, but there is a specific characteristic of these two animals that probably are very symbolic for a nation. You can imagine that they're on the coat of arms, so you probably want something very symbolic. What about
Hmm,
these
hmm,
two
hmm.
animals? Or why did they choose these two animals specifically? There's something about them. What is it about them?
I mean, I don't think kangaroos are known for their speed, but I'm just gonna guess that is it like they're fast moving? Is that a thing, or like
It is something about how they move.
okay, something about how they move? Oh, they travel vast distances, and that is what Australia wants to do, uh, go
I mean,
very
pick
far.
pick any migratory bird, then but
Oh,
something
that's
like
true.
also emu, right? Also, don't just. I mean, focusing on camera is good because you probably are more familiar. I mean, there's something about how kangaroos move, right? Like, what do you notice about how kangaroos move in general? Uh,
They leap. They leap. That's all I
yeah,
can think of.
which means, and how do they leap? Like, as in, you know,
Again, I'm not very familiar with this biology of kangaroos, but okay, let me try. Does it have to do with their emus also are good runners, so I'm guessing strong feet or something along those lines. They're very sturdy and
okay, okay, you're okay. You mean it's something about how they move, but it's a
mm.
characteristic that is probably something that a nation would want to emulate. So, what could that
Yeah,
be?
which is what I'm trying to think of, like sturdiness, move fast paced, and all these kind of things.
Those are all probably things that you can find many examples for, but there's something somewhat unique
Mm.
about the kangaroo and the emu. So you okay? Maybe focus on the kangaroo. What do you think is the consequence of them kind of leaping and going, right? Like, what do you think is going to be difficult for them to do, or probably almost impossible for them to do?
What is something they cannot do that kangaroos cannot do?
So, as a okay, also as a young nation, which Australia was at them, what do you want to keep
Mm.
doing? What do you want to keep doing, and what do you want to avoid doing? Is the question, right?
Okay. This is going to be random. I have no clue if this is true, but can they not move backwards?
Yes, they cannot move backwards.
Love that. Oh, so cool. Okay. Wait, so kangaroos cannot move backwards?
No, kangaroos cannot move backwards. And emus also cannot move backwards, apparently. So, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. That is probably one of the very few animals which can't do that. Damn, that is a really cool question. I love that. Okay, great. All right, I think this could be the end of our episode, and it's a lovely time to wrap it up. Okay, thank you so much, HK, for joining us today. This was a fantastic, fun episode, and even as much as I miss Vineet, must say I had a lot of fun today. And before I wrap up, I should do the spiel that Vineet does. So, any listener who liked this episode or loves listening to us, please go ahead, rate us on your favorite podcasting app. And what helps us the most is, of course, sharing it with somebody you know, somebody who enjoys podcasts. So give it to them, tell them that they'll love us because you love it. And if you don't like us, then give it to somebody you hate because we only care about listens. So either way is doing us a favor.
Or make them listen to the question and the answer that happens at the end of every episode, which brings us to
Yeah, if if you really hate them, then definitely do that. Okay, so since the question freshest in my mind is about coat of arms and animals, I'm gonna so get myself politically cancelled. But no, I'm gonna save myself in by next week's episode. I'll figure out a way to not get cancelled. Let me ask this: if a country, which country? Let's pick Antarctica. If Antarctica was to tomorrow declare independence and become a country of its own, which animal would they put on their coat of arms? And this will be symbolic, so don't assume it's going to be something dumb like the penguin. No. I wouldn't give you easy answers like that. Which animal would, unexpected animal would Antarctica, the nation, put on its coat of arms if they ever declared independence from the rest of people? I guess. I don't know. All right, so that's my question. And that would bring us to the end of the episode. Please wait around after the musical sting. I shall be doing the fact check. Thank you once again, HK. Anything you want to shout us? Could you give me the name of that podcast again? I would love to go.
yeah, lateral with Tom Scott or lateral by Tom Scott, I think. So yes.
Great. So, listeners, please go check out this podcast. They contributed a couple of questions today, I guess. So, thank you once again, HK, and goodbye, and see you guys next week. A quick note before the fact check. While researching the JFK assassination and Lyndon B. Johnson swearing in story, I realized it would be better served
as a standalone mini episode rather than as part of a very long fact check. So watch out for that. We'll put it out very soon. And here's the fact check for the episode. The Air Force One call sign was created in 1953. Minesweeper was installed by default with the flower tile option in Windows Vista and Windows 7. Since then, it hasn't come pre-installed on any Windows OS, but it can be downloaded. The Gherkin in London isn't officially declared to be inspired by the sea sponge. However, many experts claim that that is where the inspiration lies. And that's all for the fact check.